All right, here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies, podcast number 437. And I was thinking this morning, Peter, that I should play the intro for you and I so we could hear it and get all pumped up like our listeners,
Yeah, get in the mood. Sure.
right? Our little patriotic uh, contribution to America.
That's right. In the world.
Anyways, that's right. Enough of that. Today's topic or today's title of the podcast is 7 Gargantuan Hazards for Creative Real Estate Rookies.
Ooh, hazards. Ooh.
Where this cough came from. And here's the description. Today, we plan to reveal to you some of the $1 million blind spots that are costing you everything when it comes to creative real estate deals. And you may find out it is not your fault or for not being successful in the world of creative real estate. Wow, I really botched that up. And may discover how simple conceptual ideas can change your financial status forever. See, good processes are hard to learn, but easy to live with once they're in play. And bad processes are easy to learn, but hard to live with once they're in play. Either way, you are doing one or the other in creative real estate and may not even know it. So after we reveal these 7 gargantuan hazards or blind spots to you, it is possible the ball and chain holding you back will be cut and allow you to flourish and prosper the way you want. So let's get started with following where your money is so you can grab it at will and truly live your potential freedom to the fullest without all the hard work.
Okay, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
All right, cool. So let's do some housekeeping type things. So basically, here's the gig.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't decided what's going to happen on episode number 450 and whether we're going to strip it off of all the social media and put it on a private app or not. I'm still in deliberation with that. Some mornings I wake up and I know exactly what I want to do, and some mornings I don't. Which, by the way, Peter, well, anyways, I'll leave that alone. The point is that you will have plenty of time to be able to do what you got to do. More importantly, here's what we are doing that has changed. I have decided to up the ante for my listeners, and I've been giving away some incredible tools that I normally charge for. Matter of fact, some of them have monthly subscriptions, and I give them away for free, lifetime access.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I do that is because I ask you to give us a 5-star review, and when you do, take a snapshot of it and send me that snapshot to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, and I will give you the tools. And yes, I am bribing you for your review, but I've tried everything else and it doesn't work. So I'm working into ethical bribes now. So if I'm going to talk about that a couple more times before we go. So if you want one of the tools we're talking about today, and I've been developing more and more tools, with the world of AI and SaaS, which is software as a service, right? I have many SaaS programs I've been developing. It's like a little hobby of mine is how can I make these little real estate tools to help my clients? And I love it, right? So anyways, with that said, make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review, and make sure you take a snapshot of it and send it to me, and I will send you some gracious tools or gifts that you can use in your creative real estate business. Even if you're not doing creative real estate, you might want to see them just to play with them. Make sense?
Absolutely. And they're not little gifts. These are awesome. They're
Yeah.
gargantuan. They're crazy things.
Some of them are, yes. Yeah. So just make sure when you leave the email or send the email to me, you tell me which gift you're talking about, because we do it. We've been doing this on several podcasts. So, all right, good on that. We get that out of the way, and here we go. So,
Okay.
Pete,
Yes.
this podcast was generated because of a word you used in one of our recent conversations.
What did I do now?
Yeah.
What?
The word is Avengers.
Oh, yeah, I did say that. Okay.
So I checked it out to find out in 1995, Nick Fury created the Avenger Initiative in the world of comics by envisioning it as a group of superheroes working to respond to planetary threats, which is why I now know you were using that word when we were talking about it.
Okay.
Okay?
Don't you go to the movies, dude?
Yeah, I go to the movies, but I don't know this stuff behind the scenes. I mean, I've seen the Avengers, but I don't think
Yeah.
of them like, I'm 61 years old. Give me a break.
Hey, look who you're talking to here.
You're 47, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Oh, we got the number. We have dyslexia on
Okay.
numbers.
They got them
Well,
numbers
I got
backwards.
2 boys, and they're all into that stuff, so I get an
Yeah.
earful. I
Yeah.
sometimes get the whole movie in my ear.
My son-in-laws are like that.
Yep.
So this struck a chord with me really hard, because here's why. I read a book called Writing for Comics and Graphic Novels, written by Peter David, forwarded by George Perez. These are two, I don't know if you know this or not. I didn't until I read the book. But these guys are like prolific comic strip. They make characters, and there were what actually I got this advice from Ben Settle, because I was reading a book that I paid. It's called let me see if I can see it here. I can't see it. It's anyways, it was all about writing his publishing company, because he publishes books and newsletters and all that kind of stuff. And he spent a lot of time talking about world building.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Right. So Peter David and George Perez are world builders, right? All right. So this book that I read, right, on Writing for Comics, completely, utterly, absolutely twisted my viewpoint of life on its head. Completely flipped it upside down.
Seriously, that's so weird.
Yeah, it was something that I read. Ben Settle talked about it in passing, like, "Oh, this is a really good book for that," and that was it. I mean, he didn't. There was no. And lately I try to read those books. I don't just go on Amazon and buy any old books. I told you I'm on a book diet right now, right? So, and I got to tell you something. I've been going through my bookshelf, and I found some books that I forgot I even had, and I've been going through them. Psycho-Cybernetics is one of them, but there's a few others. Like Brian Tracy has a book on habits, and there's another one, something about somebody making $1 billion, how they do it on the internet. It's like just some crazy shit that I bought. I have no idea where I got these recommendations, but I usually get them from other books. Anyways, I read this book, and it completely twisted my viewpoint on its head, and I now have a completely different life since reading this book. Completely different life.
Seriously.
I mean, it was like I walked from the dark to the sunshine, and I can't go back to the dark. I mean, it's incredible. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. There's 2 reasons. 2 reasons why what happened to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll get to our podcast today. But this is very apropos, very, very apropos to what we're going to talk about today. Number 1, when you look at the world not as it is, but as how it could be, things start to look very different. right?
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, it kicks your imagination in, and it allows you to choreograph the future you,
Mm-hmm.
or your outcomes and results in life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So my latest little line is, you should, let me think there. You should be thinking about what you want, not thinking about what you don't want.
Oh yeah.
Because if you don't want debt, you're going to get more of it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want riches, then you'll get more of that. Right?
Yeah, you should focus on what you want, or whatever you focus on, you're gonna get, right?
Right. Yeah, you should focus on what you want, not what you don't want.
Because you'll be focusing on it. Don't
Right.
focus on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm not talking about, like weighing things left and right. So before I move on to the next one, I want to tell you about something that I don't think I've ever told you.
Yeah.
And it's recently in my mind.
Hmm.
I kind of call it the roulette thinking. Like gambling, the roulette wheel.
Yeah.
Because when I first read this a while ago, this is how it was presented to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was in Maxwell Maltz's book. I read it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He tells the story of how he's got this doctor that likes to play roulette. Right?
Yeah.
The sum of the story, I won't tell the whole story because we don't have time today, but the sum of the story is this. It's when do you worry, and when do you think about, and when do you deliberate your decisions?
Hmm.
So he says most people make a decision and then worry and deliberate and get anxiety after they've made the decision. What he's saying is what you need to do, which is what I believe, is you need to worry and deliberate before you place the bet. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Black, red, what number? Whatever calculations you're going to do, you worry about it then. And then once you place your bet and the wheel gets spun, you just sit back and say, let's go through the experience. Let's have some fun. I wonder what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And when you live life that way, it's very interesting. Right? So what I'm saying is that when you realize that a lot of things in life aren't really real until you make them real, when you look at the world not as it is, but as it could be, you make that decision as if you're playing roulette. You place your bet and then just sit back and let it entertain you on how it's going to play out. Because guess what? If it doesn't go the way you want, you can always change your mind and do it again.
Yeah. Well, it's also too late to be worrying about it. You made up your mind. You threw the dice. Let it run. Why bother now?
So many people make a decision or an affirmation or a postulate or something like that, and then they immediately say, oh, I want to make $5,000 next week, and then right away they're going to be like, how am I going to do that? And they go into the details. You can't do that. Right? What you need to do is just make the decision and then just let your mind, let your beingness, who you are, just work it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Put it in the theater of your mind. Anyways, I'm going too far in this. Listen to podcast number 436. We went over this in detail on how this works and why this is so important to a career real estate investor. And I know it's a little bit profound, but I am telling you, I am doing these podcasts for a very specific reason, because we're getting ready to roll over a new year. And people start thinking about resolutions and ideas. And I've been working on these podcasts so that if creative real estate is what you're going to do in the new coming year, I wanted to give you some mind vitamins and mental exercises to do so that you could execute those goals. Okay?
Yeah.
The second reason why this book was so impinged to me, which matters totally today on what we're talking about, is this. The most vital thing that I never, ever thought of was, what makes heroes and villains tick? Now, this is in life and this is in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody listening to me right now has their villains. I'm overweight, but I can't stop eating that chocolate. I want to make more money, but I can't get an interview. Right? I don't care what it is. I want to buy a new car, but I can't find time to go look. Whatever it is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have villains. See, heroes and villains share an unusual bond. Without the villains, the heroes have absolutely nothing to do with their time and their powers.
That's funny.
And the hero is defined by the challenges he must overcome, and the villain presents those challenges to him. This is going back to my roulette thing, right? So I decide I want to be a creative real estate guru, or not a guru, but well, let's just make it simple. I want to do creative real estate, and I want to make XYZ dollars.
Okay.
If you really believe that, and it really is a passion of yours, the first thing that's going to come in, because you just expanded your horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking in new territory. So let's say your life was a 6-inch circle, right? Mm-hmm. And you just expanded to an 8-inch circle. Now there's 2 inches of new territory you just took in that you know nothing about. So that means you got some confusion you're going to have to handle. There's new things. There's things that are going to happen that you've not done before, and you don't know what they are, right?
That's right.
So what happens is the hero is defined by the challenges he must overcome. Mm-hmm. So the villain is these new things in your life that you have to overcome. And the villain presents those challenges. So the villain is that thing that you're working against, which, by the way, is you. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not anybody else. It's just you, right? Because nobody could do anything to you except you, right? But the point is, the villain is the one that has the aggressive goal, not the hero, right? So this is like the Russian, the roulette wheel. Like once you make the decision, I am going to do creative real estate and I am going to make this much money, here's what you need to do. You need to use the lockbox method. Lockbox method. So envision this. There's a room in your house that nobody knows about except you. It's in the basement behind, like in underground. It's like a
bunker.
Yeah, bunker. That's the word I was looking for, right?
A bunker.
You go in there and you unlock the bunker and you take out a box, and all the decisions and all the ideas and all the things you were thinking about to make this decision get put inside the box, and you lock the box. And then all the ideas and all the decisions and everything to make that decision get put in an envelope and says done, and they go in the filing cabinet. And then you leave the bunker and you lock it, and that's it. You're done. And just let it happen. And just work on in your mind that this is. And you just need to work through things to get there. Kind of like a guided missile, right? It zigs and zags and zigs and zags until it gets to its target.
Yep.
This is how you're going to do it. This is what it's like with villains and heroes, because the hero is the zig and zag, and the villain is throwing up all these barriers for the missile. Right? Is this making sense, or am I being too profound?
It makes sense. I mean, everybody has their own take on it, but right. we all go through that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the villain is the one with the aggressive goal, not the hero. He's the one who wants to accomplish something. So the hero needs the villain more than the villain needs the hero.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Right? Fact check on this. This is a fact check. Just ask anyone whether they need someone or something who is going to make. Let me read this. I need to read this for a second. Okay, yeah. So just ask anyone right? If they need someone or something who's going to make their life difficult or miserable.
If they need it,
Yeah,
isn't everybody going to say no? I don't want that.
right. You will unquestionably get a resounding no.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a fact check on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
No person would say that they measure the success of the day by how soundly they overcome or manage a relentless or unstoppable opponent or barrier.
Mm.
Nobody does it. You don't lay down at night and
Well,
say, man, I'm glad I overcame that barrier.
well, you sure don't wake up in the morning and say, gee, I hope I hit a bunch of barriers today. That's
Right.
for sure. But if you don't have much of a game to play now, do you?
There you go. Right? So instead of resenting them, you should welcome them because they are your growth. They are your happiness. They are what's going to get you what you want. They are the staircase from the first floor to the second floor. As you take each step, you go higher and higher and higher. They are those barriers are what's going to get you through learning how to do creative real estate.
You know what I just felt or thought, or both, aren't they there anyways?
Yeah, it's
And
how you
wouldn't
deal with them.
right. And wouldn't it be better to know them instead of not know them
Yeah,
and just have them be there and you don't even know why you're losing?
yeah,
Isn't it better to know keep your friends closer, keep your enemies even
yeah.
closer? Like
This is the
you're better
roulette
off
thing
to,
that I'm telling you.
you're better off to know what they are.
You're better off to look at them and say, I know they're there. These are all my chances. This is what I could lose, all that stuff. Okay, I make my bet. Now just stand back and watch the wheel play the game.
Yeah, because every game has two sides, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine going to a football game, there's only one side.
So many of us have these villains in our daily life, as we're talking about, to battle. So let's go over the dangerous hazards or blind spots I have just named the villains in creative real estate that we need to outline or outwit and outmaneuver when using creative real estate strategies to become a hero with absolute freedom and superpowers.
Okay.
Okay. So I hope I didn't go too profound, but I feel like I set up the idea of this whole villain and heroes type concept because these are villains that you have that you may not even know.
Mm.
And it's like when you don't know that you have these villains, Peter, this is much like boxing a shadow.
Mm.
You just get tired and the shadow's still there.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, what I'm getting out of what you're saying is to be more willing to tackle the villains. Don't like, oh my God, I wish it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It really is an opportunity. So don't be afraid to do it because you might just get past it and succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But only if you see it. Only if you
Or
can
more
deal with it.
importantly, if you succeed, you'll be a much better person because of it. I'm so glad that happened because now for the rest of my career, that will never happen to me again.
Yeah. Lessons learned.
I was going to say something, but I'm going to wait till I do number one. So
Okay.
Here's number one out of the 7.
Mm-hmm.
This villain is when you think or convince, even believe you don't know enough and will never call the seller. Villain number 1. This villain is when you think or convince, even believe you don't know enough and will never call the seller.
Mm-hmm.
As I've shouted very loudly before, we all have information overload. What we're starving for is wisdom.
Yeah. Yep.
And wisdom is defined as having knowledge and experience so you can make good judgment calls. So going back to what you were saying before, if you don't call and feel like a fool in front of your seller with someone that you have no idea who they are, you've never met them, you're not face to face, you have no idea what they look like, what they smell like, you don't have any idea what they feel like, you have no idea how big, tall, fat, ugly, you don't even know what color their skin is. And you're worried about them thinking you're an asshole or you're a dummy or you're a scam. You're worried about this person you don't even know.
And you'll never talk to again unless you do a deal anyways. So what do you care?
Right? So the only way you are going to get wisdom is with experience. All the information you're trying to gather by watching YouTube videos or by watching, which if you knew how YouTube ran, you would probably not watch as many YouTube videos as you are.
Really?
Well, I tried to do YouTube with a couple professionals, and one thing that one of my coaches noticed is you ever notice that when you put up a YouTube video, the ones that are ranking are all 2, 3, 4 years old?
Really?
They're not a week or two old. They say that they upload 10 bazillion YouTubes a day. How come you don't see one that was uploaded yesterday? Now, there are occasionally some you'll see that are 2 weeks old, or some of the influencers, but most of the YouTubes are 2 years old. So if I'm trying to learn how to use QuickBooks and I'm following a video that's 2.5 years old, well, QuickBooks updates every year.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say about YouTube. I mean, I use it. We're on YouTube right now, but you can't find us unless you go to live. We're just not in the YouTube bucket, because when we do a live stream, it puts it in a separate portal of YouTube that you got to go look for. It doesn't just show up in YouTube.
Oh.
It's a funny platform.
Wow.
Right? So, I don't know why I'm going to rant about YouTube, but I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. The point is that you need experience. That's what it was. Information is everywhere. You go on Facebook, TikTok. My 33-year-old daughter tells me that she gets her news off of TikTok. Now,
yeah, more and more young. Yeah, a lot more people. Well, they don't have Walter Cronkite to go to now, do they?
Yeah, I guess not.
And a lot of people might not know what I just said.
So the strange thing about a villain is the only way to get this wisdom is to call sellers and get the experience and correct knowledge from the seller themselves. The way out is the way through when learning to deal with sellers, knocking you off script, and giving you objections that you may not have, may not know. Which, by the way, is my first tool today. I have a brand new tool that I created called objection handlings. I made videos for every deal structure. There are 5 objections for all of my deal structures that you commonly hear when you're on the phone.
5 total or 5 each?
Each strategy has 5 objections.
Wow.
So there's 30? I don't think I did fix and flip. I might have done that, but it's mostly creative real estate. So there's probably about 30 or 40 videos. Now, I can't give those to you because we're putting those into an app that will go on Chrome so you can look at them. But I wrote a book on these objections. And I used the book to make the videos.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So if you leave us a 5-star review today and you take a snapshot of it and you send it to the email flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, I will send you the ebook for free.
Jeez, that's valuable, because that's the thing we worry about. Well, what is he going to say? Well, know how to answer. Well, there they are. Holy mel. Yow.
It's not all of them, but it's the most common ones.
That's enough. I mean, after that, people are going to say whatever. But in most things, it's like usually the same stuff. So that's mostly what you need.
So, Peter, I want to paint a picture for you.
Okay.
Do you know how to swim?
I do. I know how to
Okay.
scuba, snorkel even.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, say at summer camp, and let's just paint the picture of you're in summer camp. Let's even go really further. Let's just have some fun with this.
Mhm.
This is I can't remember the name of the movie, but I watched a movie like this. The boys are on one side of the lake, the girls are on the other side of the lake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one.
And there's a girl you want to go meet,
Hmm.
but you got to get across the lake, and there's no canoes,
Hmm.
so you got to swim.
Hmm.
So you start working on. I got to learn how to swim. I got to go to swim school in the camp.
Yeah,
Okay?
sure.
Now here's what happens. You go to swim school, right? And it's in the rec hall,
Mm.
where they play movies. And,
Indoors.
there's games and there's pinball machines and shit in there. It's like, shuffleboard and pool tables, and it's in the rec hall.
Okay.
And here's the instructor standing up in front of you, and you're sitting on this picnic table, and he's got a little whiteboard, and he's showing you how to swim.
And there's no water.
He's explaining to you how to swim. Everything you need to know about swimming. All the rules, all the safeties. This is how you do it. Here's how you kick your feet. Here's how you move your arms. Here's how you hold your breath. Everything you need to know about swimming. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Will that training get that boy across the lake to meet the girl? You know what I just described to you, Peter?
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead.
It sounds like what most real estate students do: read books, look at videos, go to meetings, go to webinars, take notes, buy courses, buy books.
Never get in the water.
Never get in the water.
They have no idea what it's like to float in water and flail around with your arms and your legs and figure out what it's like to be in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's do it the other way. You got a coach like Bill that's going to teach you how to swim. You want to meet that girl? I'll coach you. If you just give me a cigar, I'll teach you in 5 minutes how to swim.
Yeah, you're the grandfather that just throws the kid in the pool.
Come with me.
Here you go.
And you walk out on the dock, and you say, "See that? See what? That's water." Oh, really? When he leans over, you push him in.
Yeah, you're that guy.
Kick your feet.
Tread water, quick.
That first time he gets pushed in the water, is he going to know how to swim?
Oh no, but he's going to learn how to survive.
Okay. So if perchance he was in the water and he went to the rec hall now and the teacher was telling him, would he have a different perspective on what the teacher's saying?
You'll have a much better idea because you have some personal reality on it. You can't read about these things. It's like we went to get the boating license. I'm inside a room at Cabela's or some damn place, and I get the certificate, and I said, but where's the boat? I still don't know how to drive the damn boat. Like,
Right.
What do I do now? Same deal. Thanks a lot.
We were talking about this the other night at the cigar shop about getting gun permits. The same thing.
Yeah,
getting a gun permit and never going to the firing range. The people carry guns and never been to the firing range. Anyways, here's my point. Information overload is what most people have. What they need is wisdom. What they're starving for is wisdom. That wisdom is right under your nose. Pick up the god-darn effing phone and dial it. Even if you just say, "Hey, Peter, my name is Bill Hawthorne. I'm a real estate investor. I got a question for you." Sure. What would have to happen for me to buy your house today? That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what they're saying here, but
Permit.
I'm not sure what that means. Just pick up the phone. Because it's going to be like me pushing you in the water the first time and you're flailing around just trying to stay above water so you could breathe. You're not swimming, but you're in the water. Do you see how this is a villain?
Oh, hell
Do
yeah.
you see how it's so neatly packed away and keeping you from getting that wisdom?
Oh, yeah, but think of all the good excuses that go with it. Well, I don't want to do it wrong and lose a deal. What deal?
Right.
What deal are you going to have? The way I started was, well, to be frank, the way I started was selling frozen meat on the phone when I was a kid.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, my God. No, that's the end of the story. It just went from there.
This is back, ladies and gentlemen, when they used ice to keep the meat cold.
Yeah, that's when we had telephones.
Stop.
No, seriously. But at least I got used to the phone a little bit. It was terrible. It was the worst job in the world. But you have to do something. You got to start somewhere. But the real advice is just do it for practice. Don't do it to buy a house. Just do it to practice.
Yep.
The idea is waste a few. Just let them go. Call a few people you don't want to buy a house from, that you don't care.
Leave us a 5-star review. Take a picture of it. Email it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, and I will send you the ebook on objections. Number 2 villain. Thinking you know where the money is in the deal or where it comes from. The number 1 villain or beast, like Beauty and the Beast that everybody's afraid of in real estate is this. Newbies think they need money to get deals and need credit and debt to acquire this dough for the deal. Now, Peter, think about this. This is so profound. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Real estate equals debt. That's what people think.
Well, you can if you do it the wrong way. But yeah.
First thing you need to do is read Richard Kiyosaki's book. Is it Richard?
Robert.
Robert Kiyosaki. I always say it wrong.
Probably.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
Cash Flow Quadrant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or Rich Dad Poor Dad, which has been around for 25 years now. He talks about good debt and bad debt, right? Debt for assets make you money. Debt for liabilities lose you money.
Yep.
So that's a good way to start. But the point is that in a newbie's mind, they think real estate equals debt.
Yep.
And they don't want debt. We're ingrained in our minds to not have debt. Right? Or debt is bad.
Yeah. And again, he explains good debt and bad debt in the context of that book. That was brilliant.
Truth is, oh my God, this is so liberating, that buyers bring all the money to the table for the deal, not you. The buyer brings the money. For you and your profit and for the seller and everything else in the deal. Here's another fact check on what I'm telling you, just so you don't think it's just a billism. Realtors don't need money to make their 5% profit. Why should you need it? Realtors don't need money. They don't go get loans and go in debt or any of that. They don't pay electric bills and do renovations, do they?
Nope.
And the most important factor of everything is when you're talking to a seller, they already have the money in the deal to own the property. The money is already there. Why do you want to go get new money to replace their money in the deal? I'll tell you why. Because you don't know how to offer the seller so much benefit that they turn their property that is now a liability into an asset and they start making money with it because they don't know how to do that. And a liability with no liability. I'm sorry, an asset with no liability. And I can't tell you enough about this, Peter, because I just had a very gruesome thing happen to me yesterday.
What's that?
Very gruesome thing. It is going to change my life forever.
What
Actually,
happened?
it happened 2 days ago.
What?
I have a tenant on the second floor of one of my apartment buildings, a 2-family house,
Yeah.
that decided that the furnace went out, so he went up to light the pilot. There was gas inside the chamber, and it blew up in his face. And he might lose the vision in his left eye, and his face is all burned. He had to go to the hospital.
Oh no!
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I lay awake at night and think to myself that young boy's stupidity may take my life away from me, because he's going to sue. There's doctor bills. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
But that one incident, that one phone call could change my entire life. My entire life. I'll get through it. I have insurance. I have double insurance. I not only have insurance on the properties, but I got insurance on myself. I'll get through it. But the point is I'm going to rethink some of my strategies.
Yeah.
Because I have several of those 2-family houses, and I've already spoken to my realtor friend, and I'm going to sell them, but not the way you think. Because I was thinking, if I sell them, I got too much equity. I mean, I own these houses. He just comped one of them for me at $325,000. I owe $14,000 on it.
Wow.
Too much. There's too much equity there. If I sell it, I get raked for capital gains. So I decided what I'm going to do is I am going to actually sell that house and sell their financing and still collect money and not have all the landlord obligations.
Mm-hmm.
So Black Funny User says, how much do you do annually with the different real estate strategies, and which one is your most recommended to make business out of? Well, I'm not going to tell you how much money I make because it changes every month, but it's a lot. And my favorite strategy is subject to. So on average, I average about $800 or $900 a property. So it just depends on how many properties you have, and I've got several of them. So,
my favorite strategy is the one that the seller will agree to.
Yeah.
Because really, it's not up to us. I just want to point that out. It's not up to us to choose it. It's like which one will work for the seller. That's the one he'll do. The one we want, if he doesn't do, you got no deal.
Right.
So you have to see what the seller needs, and you go with that.
So the villain is just what Peter said. Your buyer's going to put the money in the deal. So what you need to do is and we've got plenty of podcasts before this one, you need to get houses like the realtor on consignment and have something. You need to have inventory to show your buyers so they get attracted to you and want to give you money. If you think you need to convince the seller to get a deal in your name or anything like that, and yeah, those deals are more money, and yes, those deals will come along, but no. You can simply make 5% of the deal just using an option agreement, as we've explained in other podcasts, and you could do very well for yourself. And oh yeah, by the way, an option agreement means the right to buy, no obligation. Villain number 3, allowing imagined fear to be your rudder, guiding your villain to win, and the hero to be defeated every time. In podcast number 436, I talked about your self-image and how you can change it. What you think of yourself is your rudder in life. Basically, fear is an emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Caused by your own belief that someone or something is dangerous and might cause pain or is a threat. Now, this is a true villain, right?
Yep.
Funny thing is, you're the only one that could convince you that this is dangerous or painful or is a threat at all. No one else could do that for you. In podcast number 436, I talk about a guy that's walking on the trail and he sees a bear and he runs, right? And then later on, we break it down to find out, well, maybe it wasn't a bear. Maybe it was foggy and it was just a shaggy dog and he thought it was a bear.
Mhm.
Or maybe it was somebody it was a human in a costume and they were just, goofing around, right? But you thought it was a bear, right? So that's why I say allowing imagined fear to be your rudder, because most fear is imagined. It's how you perceived it. It's what you analyzed it as, right? Fact check. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're standing on a corner, New York City, Times Square. People are everywhere. Crash! 2 cars. Crash.
Mm-hmm.
Completely demolish the cars. The policeman gets 10 people to give a testimonial of what happened.
Mm.
Are they the same testimonial?
Hardly ever, no.
There you go. It's what you think you saw,
Mm-hmm.
what you think you absorbed, what you think you heard, and what you think you felt, not what really happened.
Yep.
Tell my kids all the time, there's three sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
Yours, mine, and then the truth.
Yep.
Villain number 4. How am I doing so far?
Good.
Yeah? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Villain number 4 is not sorting out a pecking order or importances of your activity outcomes. It's necessity versus neediness. This is a game you're playing with yourself. Necessity versus neediness. What do you tell yourself? As Jim Kemp says in his book, No, right? Jim Kemp is an amazing writer. He's dead now, but he's got an amazing book on sales called No. You need to root or place your mission and purpose in the world of the other side.
Mm.
And the first 4 to 5 minutes of our phone conversation, or the first 4 or 5 questions, which you put, it's what would you say, 4 minutes, 47 seconds or something like that? You named it, right?
Yeah.
On the script does this. You need to pre-qualify who you should do business with, and more importantly, who you do not. So let me ask you a question. If I owned a bookstore, what would be the first question I would ask you if I wanted you to be a client?
Personally, I would ask, do you like to read books?
There you go. If you don't like to read books, should I continue to talk to you?
Hell, no.
I learned this from a chiropractor, and David Singer was his name.
Yeah.
He would go up to people and shake their hand and say, "Hey, Peter. Hi, my name is David. What's yours?" "Oh, my name is Peter." And he's shaking his hand. "Oh, really? Let me ask you something, Peter. How do you feel today?"
Mm-hmm.
Boom! Right into, should he talk to him about chiropractic or not?
Right. But that's an example as put yourself in the other person's world. Look at it from their viewpoint, which when we're usually like, gee, I want to make money. I. You got to look at what is this person trying to do?
Right.
How are they doing? What's going on there? Can I do something with that?
That's right. So without a beneficial mission, like I help sellers sell a house for big profits, or I used to always say I help sellers to sell a house that they normally couldn't sell. But in this case, these days, it's not like that since COVID. So I help sellers sell a house for big profits, plus help a buyer who normally couldn't buy a house. And I supply me and my family with everything we need. Is that a good mission?
Yeah, it sounds like win. Sounds like win, win, and win.
Right. So could I put that or place that mission or purpose in the world of the other side? I tell sellers all the time, listen, here's what I do. I find buyers that normally couldn't buy a house because 80% of the population doesn't qualify for a mortgage. Mm-hmm. Can you help me with that buyer? Well, what do you mean? Well, if you're willing to wait 3 years before they got to go get a bank loan, and we can get them qualified for that bank loan, then I could give you up to 33% more money for your house than market value. How's that? That's putting your mission on their side. You start off with, I have a buyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another one that we use quite a bit is, listen, we just sold a house and we got a bunch of leftover buyers that are motivated. If you're willing to wait 3 years for your cash, these people are motivated because they don't qualify for a bank loan, but they could if I help them. So what if we put them in your house? You don't have any landlord obligations. We put them in your house and they rent it from you until they can get a loan. And because of that, they're willing to pay 33% more than market value. And here's how it works. Right?
Yep.
By the way, if you do a 5-star review for us, send it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. I will give you the script and the calculator that does that. Villain number 5. Here's how you outwit. Okay, I'm going to read it. Villain number 5 you have to outwit is not allowing time vampires to run your life. See, here's the amazing thing when you have a mission and you're determined on what you want to do. If you can think of the future you and how you want to be in 3 months, 12 months, 2 years down the road, it adjusts what you're going to do today. Would you agree?
Oh, hell yeah.
The boy at the camp that decided he wants to go see that girl tonight across the lake and needs to learn how to swim, is that going to make a decision for him? Is he going to make decisions based on how can I get there tonight?
Sure.
He's going to be a little bit more aggressive about learning how to swim, isn't he?
He's got a good, strong purpose.
And he's going to take a little bit more chances, isn't he? Because he really wants, that's the decision. He made the decision. He did his deliberating and all his stuff, and he placed his little whatever it is, the little ball on the roulette wheel. And now he's just going to play it out and see what happens. He's going to learn how to swim. Does he have to be a good swimmer?
Just enough to get across the lake.
All he needs to do is to stay above water so that he can get across the lake and he doesn't drown. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's scoring his performance. Nobody's scoring your performance either. You are. Nobody else is.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you start doing this, then all of a sudden you'll start noticing that you have time vampires in your life. Here you need to focus on what you can control yourself. It's not an over there-ness. Well, I can't get a house because my mother won't lend me the money. I can't become a creative real estate investor because I don't have $2,000 to do a course. And instead of saying I'll make 20 grand this week, if you find the right seller, think behavior and forget results. What you can control right now is behavior.
Right.
Your habits. Right? Behavior and your habits. That's what you can control today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to lose 50 pounds. Right?
Yeah, not today.
Right. What's the thing you could do? Well, I can get up early and I can go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So, Black Funny, where do you recommend pulling leads from? CreativeREIReplay.com. Which brings me to number 6 villain. Right? Are you tracking with me?
Oh, yeah.
Not using the great equalizer of all millionaires. Just like we use money now, money monthly, money later. Mm-hmm. This is the great equalizer. This is how you become a millionaire. Point blank, full stop, end of sentence, exclamation point. Ready?
Yeah.
Habits. Good habits are hard to learn. This was, as we talked about in the intro.
Right.
Good habits are hard to learn, but easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to learn, but hard to live with.
Mm-hmm.
Says Brian Tracy in his book called $1 Million Habits. The trick here is you'll find it easier to engage in thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are consistent with your mission or person you want to be or your goals than not. And I started the podcast off by saying, do you remember what I said about that? You probably don't, because I said a lot of things. Think about what you want, not what you don't want.
Yeah.
Go listen to podcast number 436 on how to do this and how easy it is to do, and you'll figure it out. By the way, this is the way millionaires do it. The real estate between their ears is what they work on, not the real estate that they buy and sell. And our final villain, Peter, believing the seller's losing something like equity or money so you feel guilty or develop a conscience because you are making money off of everyone, especially the seller.
Wow. That's a really bad way to look at things. I know people do that a lot. Like if somebody's a billionaire, well, some of that must be my money. No, it's got nothing to do with your money. You go make your money. He made his money. He didn't take it from you. You know, it's the way people think sometimes. Like there's limited money and we're all like grabbing it. No, you just create it. Of course, don't we set? Well, you can talk, but don't we set things up so everybody kind of wins? How do you explain it?
Right. I say the only way to make money is to have a product or service that is of value to somebody else, and you deliver it.
Period.
So if you want to take an inventory on your assets and liabilities in life, take a look at what you're delivering. If you work for the factory worker in the factory, are you giving more products or more service or less than the others? You will stand out if everyone else is doing 20 pieces and you're doing 50. Right? Yeah. So what you need to concentrate on is, what am I giving the world that they want from me that they will exchange with me? Mm-hmm. So your product or service that's completed and valuable to somebody else is the difference between a non-millionaire and a millionaire. Because a millionaire has figured out what that is, what product or service that he can produce that is valuable to somebody else, and they'll pay him for it.
Yep.
The most crucial one is Amazon. Started off selling books. Now my wife buys Christmas ornaments on there to ship off to people in Korea. Seriously.
To Korea?
For 2 days. She's waiting for these Christmas ornaments so she can ship off to her friends in Korea.
Oh, okay.
This concept of the seller's losing and I'm winning can be easily overcome with Alex Hormozi's book called The $100 Million Offer. It's the $100 M offer. How to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no. He starts the book off by saying his guided principles that he lives by are, there's no rules. Mm-hmm. I had to keep reading that book because that's me. And his methods work without permission. If you leave us a 5-star review from this podcast and take a picture of it and send it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, I will send you my Alex Hormozi script that you and I built. We call it the Grand Slam offer and the calculator. You and I worked on this for what, 2 years?
Started 2 years ago, off and on. It's funny because when we were finished, we didn't quite know where to go with it. Then it came around again. Like, oh, now we know how to use it. You know, I got a Grand Slam offer the other day at the vitamin store. they asked me for a $5 donation, and they gave me a $10 discount coupon on my next order.
Yep.
And I said, of course, I'll be back. I asked him, does everybody do this? He says, not everybody.
Yep.
So I said, I told the guy, that's a grand slam offer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, how do you refuse that? You give me 5, I'll give you 10. Like, what's the catch? I don't care.
Exactly right.
They get a tax deduction. I don't care what they get. I get $5 extra. I go back every day. No, I'm kidding.
So this is pretty cool, Peter, right?
Yeah.
If you don't take control of these villains, they will overcome you and manage you and continuously stop you and be relentless opponents and barriers. And you can tell this story about your life while exiting this world. So I've recently gone through some of that stuff. I won't talk about it, but I just read somewhere, I don't even know why, but I just read somewhere. I do know why, because I was talking to somebody that works at hospice.
Hmm.
And the number one thing they say is before people pass, they tell them their regrets. And their regrets are always the things they didn't do.
Yep.
So I have a little story to end off with today.
Mm-hmm.
It's a summary of our listeners' life. And you're going to laugh because when I read this to you a day or two ago, you laughed hysterically.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Whose job is it? Now, I'm reading this from the perspective of Grant Cardone saying that you have the responsibility to make your family rich. You have the responsibility. If you're listening to me right now, you're responsible of kicking it off, of making everybody in your family flourish and prosper.
Mm-hmm.
It's your job. Make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So whose job is it? This is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody.
Mm-hmm.
There was an important job to be done, and everybody was asked to do it. Everybody was sure somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. And ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Thank you, sketchplantations.com, for the summary of what most of our lives are like. If you're listening to this podcast, more likely you are responsible to be the hero in your life. And I hope someday when you get ready to leave us, exit this world, because we will all do that. I'm not being morbid, but you will tell your stories of overcoming your villains. I hope someday you can tell your grandchildren or those that are around you that love you so much about how you became the hero by overcoming these villains that are between your 2 ears, and how you succeeded because you overcame these villains and others. Take today's concepts and write them out. Study them and listen multiple times until they are etched inside your forehead, like the neon lights on Times Square. They're so bright you can't refuse but look at them. As Maxwell Maltz asked in his book, What movie is playing in your theater in your mind? If your life is not the way you want it, change the channel or get a new movie and start playing that in the theater of your mind. And things will change. End of podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed what we had to talk about today. I went a little profound on you, especially towards the end. And but it's what you got to do. And like I said, we're rolling on to a new year. And these are the things I want you to think about when you're working on your future you. The new you. Who are you going to be? And what are you going to do in your life? Or not do? Make sure you give us a 5-star review wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Take a picture of it. Send it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. And I will send you any one of the gifts or all of the gifts or whatever you want. I know that in podcast number 436, I have a course on how to make your first $5,000 that I sell for, I think, $297 or something like that. Take a review. Do a 5-star review. Take a picture of it. Send it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, and I'll send you the course. I'll log you in and send you the course. Lifetime use for free. Okay? Also, make sure you like us and subscribe to us. And if you have any questions, you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com or creativereireplay.com and put in a support ticket, and I will make sure that your questions get answered, whether they're for me or for Pete or for anything else for that matter. Okay? Thank you so much for being with us. And over and out. End of podcast number 437. I appreciate you being here very much. Flourish and prosper.